Science gave us antibiotics, the Hubble telescope, and a camera in every pocket. America looked at that toolkit and said, cool. What if we use all this progress to see what happens when you bite a laundry pod on video? In a country where companies have to print "do not eat" on silica gel, glow sticks, and air freshener because real humans have already treated them as snacks, poison centers now keep an entire playbook for people who mistake household products for experimental tapas. This isn't about exotic cuisine or misunderstood cultural dishes. This is a tour of objects that belong under the sink, in the toolbox, or inside a shipping box. Things toxicologists carefully designed to clean your life, not line your stomach. Yet year after year, U.S. emergency rooms and poison hotlines log thousands of calls about Americans chewing detergent packets, sipping hand sanitizer, tasting glow stick liquid, or swallowing the tiny "do not eat" packets that literally scream their job description in all caps. What follows isn't a cookbook. It's a classified file on the moments when curiosity, boredom, and internet dares teamed up to ask the single worst culinary question of all time. How bad could it be? Welcome to the Absurdist Files, Food Edition, where the menu is made of warning labels and survival is strictly a la carte. 1. In early 2018, American teens turned laundry detergent pods into a viral dare, filming themselves biting into the bright, candy-colored packets for the Tide Pod Challenge. Poison centers had already flagged these highly concentrated pods as a serious emerging hazard, with thousands of children under 6 accidentally ingesting them in the years before the meme ever hit YouTube. The detergent can burn the mouth, damage the lungs, and in severe cases, kill. So much so that Procter & Gamble had to redesign packaging and hire an NFL star to record videos begging people not to eat their product. It turns out evolution can give you opposable thumbs and broadband, but it can't stop you from treating industrial cleaner like a snack with a sponsorship deal. 2. Every Halloween, America's poison centers brace for a predictable wave of calls. Kids cracking open glow sticks and tasting the neon liquid that looks exactly like alien fruit juice. On a normal day, U.S. poison centers get around 20 calls about glow products. On October nights, that number spikes as children chew bracelets, necklaces, and party favors that were meant to be worn, not sipped. The chemicals inside are usually low in toxicity, but they still burn mouths, upset stomachs, and turn the bathtub into a decontamination scene straight out of science fiction. The glow isn't radioactive. It's just the last thing you should be using to season a juice box. 3. Silica gel packets exist for one modest purpose: keep your shoes or electronics dry while they cross an ocean. In the United States, poison centers report that children and adults routinely mistake them for salt packets or breath mints, despite the giant "do not eat" warning printed directly on the paper. Toxicologists will tell you that the beads themselves are usually inert, but the packets are still a choking hazard and occasionally contain indicator chemicals that nobody ordered for lunch. When your snack has to be fished out of the box with tweezers and labeled like a crime scene, that's your cue it's not a side dish. 4. Hand sanitizer is supposed to sit on your skin for 20 seconds, not your liver for 20 hours. Yet U.S. poison data show a steady stream of children and adults who drink it like budget vodka. Many sanitizers are 60 to 70% alcohol, and during the COVID-19 pandemic, some products were contaminated with methanol, a toxic form of alcohol that blinded and killed users in Arizona and New Mexico after they swallowed it. Public health bulletins now specifically warn against using sanitizer as an alcohol substitute, which means someone, somewhere, took a whiff of Berry Blast gel and thought, close enough. When your drink comes with an FDA recall instead of a happy hour discount, it is not a cocktail. 5. American pediatric hospitals are so used to kids swallowing coin batteries that they've built entire protocols around it, complete with fast-track x-rays and emergency surgery. When those flat, shiny button cells lodge in a child's esophagus, the electrical current and leaking chemicals can burn through tissue in hours, turning a moment of curiosity into a life-threatening emergency. They're not marketed as food, but they're small, round, and perfectly sized for a toddler who explores the world mouth first and has never read a warning label. Somewhere in a design lab, an engineer probably admired how sleek those batteries looked, never imagining they'd end up as the worst-tasting mint in American history. 6. Poison centers in the U.S. also field endless calls about children swallowing essential oils, mint, eucalyptus, tea tree, that wellness trends have turned into household staples. A few concentrated drops can cause vomiting, drowsiness, or seizures in small kids, and tea tree oil in particular is infamous among toxicologists for sending toddlers to the ER after a single exploratory sip. Parents drip the oils into diffusers, onto pillows, or into baths, then act shocked when a bottle that smells like candy is treated like candy by a 3-year-old. Aromatherapy is relaxing, right up until the moment it becomes an unscheduled pharmacology lesson. 7. Ingesting liquid dishwasher detergent sounds like a cartoon gag, but pediatric data from the National Poison Data System show that highly concentrated packets and gels regularly land American children in hospitals with burns and breathing problems. The packets are colorful, soft, and squishy, basically gummy candy with the personality of a chemical weapon. So toddlers bite them, swallow the alkaline liquid, and discover that lemon fresh is a marketing term, not a flavor profile. Manufacturers have since added bittering agents and child-resistant packaging, effectively admitting that they had underestimated the power of a species willing to gnaw on anything shaped like a marshmallow. Even the dishwashing machine gets better treatment than the child's esophagus. 8. The chemicals in bath salts and other cosmetic bath products were invented to fizz, foam, or fragrance. Yet poison centers keep records of Americans who drink them straight from the bottle. Some products are simple mixtures of citric acid and baking soda. Others contain detergents, fragrances, or, in the case of illicit bath salts, drugs masquerading as cosmetics, potent synthetic stimulants linked to psychosis and organ damage. On paper, they're for soaking your feet. In practice, they'd become an accidental tasting menu for people who think a pretty label equals something safe to swallow. When the product's official use is add to tub, the only thing it should be dissolving is your stress, not your gastrointestinal lining. 9. American poison hotlines get so many calls about kids chewing glow jewelry, scented markers, and other novelty products that they maintain pre-written scripts reassuring parents that, yes, the child will probably be fine, and no, the toy is still not food. Glow stick liquid generally causes only minor symptoms, like mouth irritation and upset stomach. But the shock on a parent's face when their child starts drooling neon green could power an entire horror franchise. Companies design these items to be bright, chewy-looking, and perfectly child-sized, then outsource the job of saying, "Don't eat it," to exhausted poison specialists at 2 a.m. The toys were marketed as fun. Nobody mentioned the bonus roll as a pop quiz for parental composure. 10. Even seemingly boring desiccant packets and oxygen absorbers tucked into packages of jerky or prepackaged food have their own entry in America's accidental menu. Poison centers explain over and over that silica gel is usually non-toxic, and iron-based absorbers are mostly a mild hazard unless a child swallows several. But they also emphasize that none of these things count as seasoning. Adults mistake them for condiment packs. Kids see a small mystery object and immediately promote it to snack status. Somewhere along the global supply chain, an engineer decided to keep our chips crisp. They did not realize they were also inventing one of the most boring ways to terrify a parent. 11. In the chaotic world of American emergency rooms, one of the quiet, repeat offenders is superglue. Specifically, the moments when adults accidentally, or experimentally, taste it. Poison control data show that while cyanoacrylate hardens almost instantly on moisture, it's rarely poisonous when a tiny amount touches the lips or tongue. What it is, however, is a fast-acting regret generator. People mistake the tube for lip ointment, squeeze, and immediately discover that glue and saliva create a chemical handshake so quick it could win speed dating competitions. The glue doesn't usually harm the stomach, but the look on a nurse's face when they hear, "I glued my mouth to my teeth," could power an entire reality show about questionable life choices. 12. American surveys and ER reports repeatedly warn about the bizarre trend of children, and occasionally bafflingly curious adults, chewing on ice-melting crystals used for driveways and sidewalks. The pellets resemble coarse sugar, and the bright blue or green coloring doesn't help. Toxicologists explain that these products often contain calcium chloride, which can burn the mouth, damage the throat, and cause vomiting if swallowed. The pellets were engineered to melt frozen pavement at sub-zero temperatures. They were not engineered to melt on someone's tongue like winter-flavored Pop Rocks. In households where this mistake happens, the driveway ends up safer than the digestive tract. 13. Poison center logs across multiple states show an oddly consistent hazard every winter. People mistaking gasoline additives for flavored drink enhancers. Both come in small squeeze bottles. Both are often cherry or citrus colored. The problem is that one is meant to stabilize fuel and the other is meant for water bottles, not for confusing the two. A single swallow of fuel additive can cause chemical burns, lung damage, or life-threatening aspiration. When the bottle says improves engine performance, that's a pretty big clue it's meant for something with pistons, not taste buds. The only thing enhanced here is the ER doctor's disbelief. 14. American toddlers and a surprising number of adults continue to treat Play-Doh as if it were an artisanal cheese. While commercial Play-Doh is generally low in toxicity, homemade versions often contain high amounts of salt, enough to send a child to the hospital with sodium poisoning after just a few mouthfuls. Pediatric specialists warn parents every holiday season when DIY Play-Doh recipes go viral. The stuff is designed for craft tables, not charcuterie boards. It was never meant to be paired with crackers or evaluated like a flight of textured dough terroir. Yet every year, someone decides that non-toxic means let's see what it tastes like. 15. In the realm of cleaning disasters, powdered laundry detergent remains an American classic. Emergency data show that kids often mistake the brightly colored grains for candy sprinkles, while adults confuse the open box for baking ingredients during multitasking marathons. Powdered detergents contain surfactants strong enough to irritate or burn tissue, and when swallowed, they can foam, choke, and damage the airway. Toxicologists now warn parents to store detergent as if it were medication, high up, sealed, and far from the reach of small humans who think rainbow granules automatically equal dessert. Evolution may be slow, but toddlers are not. 16. Automotive antifreeze. Bright, sweet-smelling, and catastrophically dangerous, has an entire subchapter in American poison control manuals. Ethylene glycol, the main ingredient, tastes deceptively sweet, and children sometimes discover this the worst possible way. Even more troubling, adults occasionally siphon it by mouth while repairing cars, a risky practice still documented in case reports. Just a few ounces can cause kidney failure or death if untreated. When mechanics tell you a fluid is for engines only, they mean it. Anything that can survive a Midwestern winter inside a radiator is not meant to be swirling around inside a human being. 17. American hobbyists who homebrew kombucha or ferment vegetables sometimes generate their own toxic taste tests. Public health departments routinely field cases where improperly fermented teas or pickles become contaminated with mold, bacteria, or excess acidity, leading to burns or poisoning when someone drinks it anyway because they didn't want to waste the batch. Fermentation is science, not vibes. When your drink smells like a crime scene confession and fizzes like it's plotting something, that is not a flavor profile. It's a warning that you have successfully brewed an edible biohazard. 18. Pest control baits, especially those designed to resemble food pellets for pets, consistently show up in poisoning statistics across the United States. Rodent bait often contains anticoagulants or neurotoxins. Insect gels mimic sugary pastes. Children, and occasionally adults with terminal curiosity, taste the products because they look edible. Poison centers urge rapid medical evaluation because even small amounts can cause serious harm. When a package says, "for pests only," it means creatures that live in walls, not people who make poor snack decisions under stress. 19. American hospitals have documented adults swallowing war paint from sports events, those brightly colored face paints sold in tubes that resemble candy pastes or icing gel. While many face paints are labeled non-toxic, they are not designed for ingestion, and some imported products have contained heavy metals or unsafe dyes. Fans smear the paint on their cheeks, cheer for hours, then lick their fingers without thinking. It's a festive way to celebrate a touchdown until your stomach starts running its own defensive play. 20. Spray cheese, a real American food, has an evil twin: aerosol whipped soap. These decorative foaming cleansers often come in canisters nearly identical to whipped cream dispensers. Einsteiners report predictable cases where someone grabs the wrong can during a chaotic morning or distracted cleaning session, sprays it onto a snack or directly onto a spoon, and takes a big, confident bite. The taste is soap, perfume, and instant horror. If the ingredient list includes sulfates and fragrance, it's not a topping. It's a fast track to an accidental cleanse you never signed up for. 21. There's a reason American veterinarians warn pet owners to keep flavored dog toothpaste far from toddlers. The tubes smell like chicken, beef, or peanut butter, and children, guided by nothing but instinct and chaos, treat them like gourmet, squeezable snacks. Poison control data confirm recurring cases every year. While most pet pastes are low in toxicity, the ingredients aren't meant for human digestion and often trigger vomiting, diarrhea, or a panicked Google search about, "Can humans eat dog products?" When something is formulated for an animal that licks itself for fun, it is not meant to be part of a child's lunch plan. 22. Fire starters, small cubes of compressed wax and kerosene, have fooled more than one American camper. They look exactly like bouillon cubes, and tired hikers have tossed them into boiling water by mistake before realizing the broth smells like a hardware store on fire. Consuming even a small amount can cause chemical burns and respiratory distress. Park rangers now emphasize storing food and fire gear separately, ideally at opposite ends of the campsite, for anyone who might mistake instant flame for instant flavor. If your soup ignites spontaneously, it's not soup. 23. Hair relaxer, a staple in many American households, often comes in white, creamy formulations stored in tubs that resemble yogurt containers. Poison centers see predictable patterns. Children dip in fingers and taste the mixture because it looks like dessert. Sodium hydroxide and other caustic ingredients can burn the mouth, ruin the esophagus, and turn a curious lick into an emergency. Manufacturers now plaster warnings across the packaging, effectively shouting, "This is for hair, not your digestive tract." When a product can straighten curls using chemistry, it will not be kind to your stomach lining. 24. During the height of the DIY slime trend, American parents unknowingly stocked their homes with craft ingredients that looked like edible goo: glitter glue, shaving cream, saline solution, borax mixtures, and kids, predictably, tasted them. Poison control lines lit up with calls about children licking their hands mid-slime session, swallowing homemade mixtures, or sampling store-bought slime because it smelled like grapes. Some slimes contained boric acid levels high enough to cause nausea or irritation. Slime was meant to be squished, stretched, and flung, not eaten like an avant-garde Jell-O shot. 25. American gardeners frequently encounter a specific hazard: plant fertilizers and soil amendments that resemble colorful sprinkles or ground spices. Children have scooped them up and eaten them like candy. Adults have mistaken them for potting additives meant to go in smoothies, thanks to mislabeled storage jars during home organizing binges. Fertilizers can contain nitrates, ammonia, or other chemicals that are dangerous to ingest. Soil additives belong in the ground, not in a blender, no matter how organic the branding looks. If it makes your plants grow 3 sizes in a week, it's not meant for your gut. 26. Some Americans have confused antacid tablets with sidewalk chalk because certain brands of chalk come in pastel colors identical to chewable calcium tablets. Poison centers get calls every spring from parents whose children tasted chalk during outdoor play, expecting a sweet chew and getting a mouthful of dusty limestone instead. While chalk is usually low in toxicity, swallowing chunks can cause gastrointestinal distress. In households with both art supplies and over-the-counter meds, springtime becomes a season of taste test roulette. 27. Hospitals report recurring cases of adults and children mistaking denture cleaning tablets for candy mints. The tablets fizz aggressively in water, an unmistakable clue, but when left on a countertop, they resemble chewable antacids or breath mints. Ingesting them causes burning, foaming, and rapid onset regret as the tablet begins to react with saliva. Emergency teams treat it like a chemical ingestion because that's exactly what it is. Anything designed to clean artificial teeth is not meant to be dissolved by real ones. 28. American auto shops warn customers never to place small automotive fluids in food containers, yet cases still occur where someone drinks windshield washer fluid because it was stored in a repurposed sports drink bottle. Windshield fluid may contain methanol or other toxic alcohols that can cause blindness or death. When poison centers receive these calls, treatment must begin immediately. If you're pouring it into the car to fight bug splatter, it should never be poured into yourself. Convenience is not a flavor. 29. During home renovation season, paint thinner ingestion becomes a predictable emergency. While adults don't usually drink it intentionally, many have sipped from mislabeled jars or cups holding solvents. Even a small swallow can cause choking, chemical pneumonia, or organ damage. Professionals always emphasize never, under any circumstances, store solvents in beverage containers. If the liquid could remove varnish from wood, it will happily remove moisture from your throat. 30. Every summer, American poison hotlines record cases of people drinking pool chemicals, often shock granules, after confusing the container with a sports supplement powder. The granules can burn skin on contact and are extremely dangerous when swallowed, causing vomiting, burns, and difficulty breathing. Pool chemicals exist to destroy microorganisms with extreme prejudice. Describing them as lemon-scented does not make them lemonade. If the container warns you to avoid breathing the dust, it's not meant to be stirred into a glass. 31. In American kitchens, one deceptively common emergency involves people mistaking packets of plant seeds for chia or flax and tossing them into smoothies. Seed packets often contain treated or coated seeds, colored blue, green, or pink, with fungicides to protect crops before planting. These coatings can cause nausea, dizziness, and chemical burns if ingested. Garden centers routinely warn customers not to mix seed storage with pantry shelves. But every spring, someone blends a superfood shake that tastes like a lawn experiment. When the label says sow directly into soil, it is not offering a dietary suggestion. 32. A recurring entry in poison control data involves Americans drinking rubbing alcohol because its clear color resembles spirits and its price resembles a bargain. Isopropyl alcohol is rapidly absorbed and far more toxic than ethanol. Even small amounts can cause blindness, respiratory failure, or death. ER doctors have treated patients who drank it intentionally as an alcohol substitute or accidentally during chaotic nights. When a liquid can disinfect medical equipment, it should never be auditioning for a role in your bloodstream. 33. American households love innovation, and drain cleaners are among the most aggressively formulated products on the market, designed to dissolve hair clogs, grease, and anything else living rent-free in your pipes. Poison centers document emergency cases where children and distracted adults have swallowed drain cleaners stored in repurposed drink bottles or mistaken for baking ingredients during multitasking marathons. 34. Glow-in-the-dark paint used for Halloween decorations routinely ends up on poison control call logs when children, or crafty adults, taste it because it smells sweet or looks like frosting. While labeled non-toxic, the paint contains pigments and polymers not meant to be ingested, often causing stomach upset and mouth irritation. Companies design these paints to illuminate pumpkins, not gastrointestinal tracts. If your craft supply glows under blacklight, the only thing it should be illuminating is your decor, not your internal organs. 35. American hunters and outdoor enthusiasts have occasionally mistaken hand warmers for edible pouches. Some disposable warmers look like seasoning packets and contain iron powder, carbon, and salts that activate with oxygen to generate heat. Children have bitten into them believing they were candy, and adults have mistaken them for condiment packs at campsites. Ingesting iron powder can lead to vomiting, abdominal pain, or dangerous toxicity. Anything whose primary job is become hot enough to stave off frostbite has no business being chewed. 36. There are documented cases of Americans mistaking plant pesticide bait gels for frosting or cooking gel because they come in small tubes resembling icing decorators. These gels can contain insecticides such as boric acid or fipronil. Once squeezed onto a fingertip or even spread onto food by mistake, the ingestion is treated as a poisoning. Manufacturers now label them aggressively, but curiosity, or terrible lighting, still finds a way. If a tube lives in the garage or under the sink, it should never share counter space with cupcakes. 37. Kids in science classrooms sometimes sneak tastes of modeling clay or sculpting compounds, especially older oil-based varieties that resemble candy in color and texture. While many modern clays are labeled non-toxic, older materials and certain imported products can contain heavy metals or solvents. Schools now audit art supplies annually, but incidents still occur when a child decides the fastest way to learn what something is made of is by biting it. A rule of thumb from teachers: if it lives in the art cabinet, it isn't a snack. 38. American hobbyists working with soldering flux or rosin, both used in electronics, have confused small tins of these substances with lip balm during cluttered work sessions. Flux can contain acids and activators designed to clean metal surfaces during soldering, not moisturize lips. Poison control centers take these calls seriously, as ingestion can cause burns or toxicity. When you're working at a desk filled with wires, circuit boards, and tiny metal shavings, anything mint-sized should be assumed dangerous until proven otherwise. 39. In some households, silica sand used for terrariums or reptile enclosures has been mistaken for edible decorative sugar because of its fine grain and bright colors. Children have sprinkled it onto cookies or licked it directly from craft jars. While largely inert, the sand can cause choking and gastrointestinal irritation. Reptile sand belongs in tanks under heat lamps, not on baked goods fresh from the oven. If a container has a picture of a lizard on it, it is not a condiment. 40. American ice fishing enthusiasts sometimes carry chemical hand defrosters and gel warmers that resemble energy gel packets used by runners. Poison centers report cases where cold, hungry, and exhausted anglers squeeze the wrong packet into their mouths, expecting a calorie boost and getting a mouthful of industrial heating gel instead. Symptoms range from burns to nausea. When your snack warms up faster than your hands, something has gone terribly wrong. 41. In American garages, one of the more quietly dangerous mix-ups involves tire shine gels stored in squeeze bottles that look uncannily like clear dessert syrups. Poison control specialists report cases where adults grab the wrong bottle during backyard barbecues, squirting the glossy petroleum-based liquid onto plates or directly into their mouths before realizing the flavor notes were automotive aisle with a hint of panic. Tire shine exists to make rubber sparkle under sunlight, not to glaze ribs. If the bottle promises a high-gloss finish, that is not a tasting note. 42. Decorative fire gel, used in tabletop fire bowls and fondue-style burners, comes in jars or pouches that look like gourmet jelly or slime TikTok creations. Some Americans, confused during outdoor parties or dimly lit gatherings, have dipped fingers into the gel or even tasted it. Made with alcohol and thickening agents, the substance burns fiercely when lit and burns internally when swallowed. Fire gel's job is to turn your patio centerpiece into an elegant flame, not to become the flame inside your digestive tract. Anything that can ignite with a lighter should never be near a plate. 43. American pet owners often keep flea and tick treatments in chewable-looking tablets or soft treats intended for animals, but absolutely not for humans. ER case reports describe toddlers, and occasionally overly curious adults, sampling these beef or chicken-scented chews, thinking they were snacks. Some formulations contain insecticides or high-dose medications that can cause neurological or gastrointestinal symptoms in people. A tablet meant to protect a 90-pound Labrador from parasites is not meant to season a human stomach. If the label includes the weight of a dog instead of serving size, step away from the treat. 44. Deep cleaning oxygen bleach powders, marketed as stain removers, are often confused with powdered drink mixes because of their bright packaging and citrus imagery. More than one rushed parent has scooped a spoonful into water, stirred, and taken a sip before the harsh taste announced the mistake. These powders may contain sodium percarbonate or perborate, which release hydrogen peroxide when mixed with water. Excellent for laundry, terrible for the gastrointestinal lining. Laundry boosters are for clothing fibers, not for hydration strategies. 45. The final entry in America's involuntary taste test archives comes from camping and emergency prep kits, water purification tablets. Compact, chalky, and stored next to snacks, these iodine or chlorine-based tablets have been swallowed whole by hikers and children who assumed they were mints. The chemicals are meant to disinfect bacteria in water, not sanitize the inside of a stomach. The tablets dissolve slowly, burning the mouth and throat and earning the patient an unforgettable lesson in wilderness safety. When something's job is to kill microbes, it will not treat your taste buds kindly. So far, we've watched a very specific kind of madness at work, a world where warning labels are less like instructions and more like spoilers. So far, we've seen scientists weaponize dolphins, governments panic over clouds, and people who genuinely believe the Earth was allergic to satellites. Somewhere out there, common sense is screaming into a pillow. In this particular episode, stupidity has chosen the digestive system as its battlefield. We've seen detergent pods bitten like candy, glow sticks squeezed into drinks, and hand sanitizer auditioning as budget vodka. Children treated silica gel like mystery Tic Tacs. Adults treated batteries like breath mints. And entire households briefly considered cat litter, bath bombs, and dog treats as part of a balanced diet. None of these objects ever applied for food status. They were drafted against their will. What keeps showing up over and over is not hunger, but entitlement. The quiet belief that if something is in your house, your hand, or your line of sight, it somehow owes you an experience. Taste becomes another form of curiosity, a way to poke the universe and see if it pokes back. The universe, for the record, usually responds with stomach cramps, a long night in the ER, and a stern lecture from someone in a white coat who has seen this exact disaster 12 times already this month. If evolution had a progress bar, it would probably look impressive. Rockets, microchips, gene editing, and then, right at the end, there would be a tiny flashing note. Also, still licking glow sticks. Humanity has come a long way from the caves, but a surprising number of us still insist on finding out personally what not to put in our mouths. Maybe stupidity isn't the opposite of intelligence. It's what happens when intelligence goes unsupervised. Left alone in a house full of brightly colored chemicals and clever packaging, the human brain does what it has always done best. It experiments. It pokes, it licks, it bites. It assumes that a non-toxic label is an invitation, that a soft texture means probably edible, that a warning printed in all caps is just legal fan fiction and not the record of someone else's worst day. We like to imagine ourselves as rational creatures, but the stories in this file suggest something much messier. These aren't people starved for food. They're people starved for novelty, for sensation, for a story that hasn't been told yet. In a world where every flavor of chip has already been invented, some minds drift toward the unthinkable. What does the stuff under the sink taste like? When the ordinary stops surprising us, we start auditioning the forbidden. And the forbidden rarely cares if we survive the audition. We always reach for the impossible, but sometimes it's because no one stopped to ask if we should. That impulse built cathedrals, space programs, and the internet. And the same impulse convinces a teenager to swallow a detergent pod on camera because the comments dared him to. The line between genius and disaster has never been clean. It's smudged with curiosity, ego, and a misplaced faith that consequences happen to other people. Evolution gave us big brains. It never promised we'd use them on the right problems. What makes these stories darkly funny is also what makes them quietly terrifying. They're not about those people over there. They're about us, about the part of every human that wants to touch the hot stove just once, just to see. Most of us get talked down by parents, teachers, warning labels, or sheer luck. A few don't. They end up as footnotes in medical journals, entries in poison center statistics, or cautionary tales whispered by exhausted nurses who have run out of ways to say, "Please don't drink that." In the end, the universe is patient, but not particularly sentimental. It doesn't care whether the thing you swallowed was a gourmet dessert or a water purification tablet. It only cares about chemistry, dosage, and time. The lesson hiding underneath the jokes isn't people are hopeless. It's that we are endlessly capable of turning our own brilliance against ourselves, of using our freedom not just to explore the world, but to chew on it blindly. This has been the Absurdist Files, where logic takes a vacation and reality writes the jokes.